Hello, and welcome to my third and final bonus video for this week in July. The other two videos were Sunday and Tuesday, and today I will be talking to you about the third and final part of my three-part poem, Pieces and Parts. If you are interested in hearing more of the backstory, because that was established in the other two videos, please do feel free to pause this and go and look at those. But I would encourage you to look at any of the behind the poem stories on my page, because they kind of give you an insight into the methods behind creating the poems, the stories behind them, and the inspiration as part of the shared experience of reading the poems. So Pieces and Parts, the third piece, whereas the second piece was written by accident 1 year after I wrote the first piece, because I just happened to be reviewing the poems and in a coffee shop looking to write 1 year after I wrote the first piece. This time with the piece number 3, I purposely went back and reviewed the other two poems in order to write a sequel 1 year after the second piece. So this one was written on the 1st of July in 2013. So this time, having looked over everything, not only the individual parts of the poem, piece 1 and piece 2, but all the other poems that I'd written in between, all the other bits of writing I'd done in between, all the things that I had done and things that I had learned about myself and about living on my own and being on my own, how I'd built up that feeling over time, that kind of crystallized and developed and kind of shows in the poem as my new kind of found resilience and determination, kind of a self-belief that it would all turn out okay, that it would all turn out the way it was supposed to turn out, which I did not have in the first piece. In the first piece, there was all that kind of ambiguity, all that upset, all that shattered feeling of, not only do I not know what's going to happen, I don't know if I can handle what's not going to happen. I don't know if I can handle what is going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to handle it, that my plans had completely been destroyed and run over by a freight train. But at this point, at piece 3, a full 2 years after I wrote the first piece, a full 2 years after I moved into my own place for the first time, I finally began to put to rest all of the ambiguity, all of the almost pieces, all of the almost right, almost known, almost there. And I didn't kind of forget the past. I didn't put those, destroy those pieces, because as I have said in other videos, we are a sum of our parts. We are all of our experiences, all of our memories, and they're all important in making us who we are and how we respond to new situations. So I didn't just forget them, I put them away. Because when a dream has outlived its usefulness, when a dream is no longer a dream and doesn't make you happy anymore, you have to try and find something that does make you happy. And so I began to kind of own my state of being, what I was, what I wasn't going to be, letting that go, and owning the state of being that was moving into the future, that kind of feeling that I wasn't going to be wrecked or nervous about an uncertain future with less of a plan. I am a planner. Anyone who knows me now, maybe not so much in high school, but definitely now, I'm a bit of a planner. But I'm not the same type of planner I used to be. I used to plan and have mapped out everything I wanted to achieve, the order in which I wanted to achieve it, how that definitely was going to happen. I had no uncertainty as to whether or not I was going to have this or I was going to have that I was going to have love, that I was going to have a husband and a home and all of those things. Those plans just didn't work out. And I was not wrecked or nervous about that anymore. Now I made smaller plans, closer to where I was, achievable, measurable plans where I knew which school I was going to be at, I knew how I was going to approach my job, I knew the friends that I was going to meet up with, I knew the places I was going to go. I've knocked at least 3 places off of my travel list that I had for a long time, one place at a time, and it felt good to kind of scale back my planning to something not quite so grandiose, not quite so destiny expected and society expected of me, because I'd gotten so used to that when it was ripped away from me, when it was destroyed, I didn't know what to do. And so getting used to that state of being, owning that state of being, was the best thing that's ever happened to me. It makes me who I am. It makes me the type of person that can put forward a manuscript to be published finally after 20 years of dreaming about it, of actually doing it. And in terms of writing, when I started, I didn't know how many pieces there were going to be. Nobody knows how long it's going to take you to recover from the loss of something like that, the loss of a dream or the loss of an established plan or the loss of anything. And so I didn't know how many pieces there were going to be. After I realized the kind of cycle that I was on, I knew I had to write a third piece because it wasn't quite finished with the second piece. But after I wrote the third piece, it felt finished. And I've talked to a couple of poets since about, how do I know how many verses to write? How do I know when to stop writing the poem? When is it finished? If you're not using a particular form that has rules about lines or has rules about verses, my theory is that if you're trying to capture an emotion or an experience, you keep going until it feels finished. And a lot of the times the idea will take over, and the idea that you have for a poem or a piece of writing will continue and bother you and sit in your brain and bother your brain until you actually put it to paper. And then when it stops bothering you, you've finished, you've succeeded, you've pinned it to the page, and you can leave it alone, whatever the cause of the experience of the idea. So when I finished third piece, it felt finished, and I felt more finished, even with the uncertain pages or the uncertain edges, the fuzzy, unfilled in spaces, that missing pieces. I still felt ready. I felt ready to kind of move on from that, to feel resolved and a little bit recovered. And obviously, I moved on from that to continue writing and to continue in my dream job. I moved house again and again and again. But all of those things came because I had reflected and taken stock and written this poem where I now knew that not only was everything possible, that I would be fine, that I would be okay, and that any uncertainty or change in plans or anything like that wasn't going to throw me anymore. And so I'll leave you with the last 2 verses of the third piece of the poem to finish it off. Everything is possible once again, and one thing is finally certain. I'm not going to pieces ever again, and I'm hungry for the next piece of life. So those 2 verses finish the third piece of Pieces and Parts, and definitely established or emphasized how I continued after writing it. I wasn't done yet. And not only that, I wasn't going to be done yet. I'd have what I wanted, and I wouldn't compromise. And that was allowed. That we're all imperfect in whatever flaws or mistakes I had made. That was okay. And that I still deserved what was coming next. So, thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the bonus videos. It's a very important poem to me. It's very core to who I became as a writer and who I became as a person. So please do pass on the video to anyone you know who might enjoy it or who might need it. Somebody who's been through that kind of cycle of renovating themselves. and look forward to seeing you on Saturday. The poll is still open, so please vote for the title of the story that you'd like to hear next on the post from Monday. Thank you.